Hello everyone and welcome back to our continuing review series of Witchwood cards. We're going to be doing Priest now. We're going to be rating the cards on a scale of 1 to 5. As we've been doing so far. 1 are your kind of trash cards like Magma Rager. 2 kind of fringe or tech cards like Black Knight. 3 are playable or niche archetype cards like maybe Deadly Shot or Plated Beetle. 4 are your staple cards in a class, or they're like deck defining for a specific deck, like Gadget and Auctioneer for Miracle Rogue, or Wandering Monster for Hunter, where it's kind of staple to most of the decks in that class. And then we have your meta defining cards like Call to Arms and Void Lord that not only define how those decks are built in those classes, but they define how other decks outside of those classes are built. And first up for Priest, we have Lady in White. Lady in White is a 6-mana 5/5 legendary minion with Battle Cry cast Inner Fire on every minion in your deck. So setting their attack equal to their health. We saw on the reveal stream kind of meme deck with Lady in White, including stuff like a 4-mana 0/9 that became a 4-mana 9/9 with taunt. Lady in White, I mean, thoughts?
So, as much as I want it to be a good card, like the problem with Lady in White, and the main issue is you got to ask yourself, what card are you running in your deck that runs Lady in White to be good? And like the answer is, if you're running cards like the 4-mana 0/9 taunt, that card is just bad, without Lady in White. So it's going to be a case of if you're running bad cards that are only good when you play Lady in White, the chances are the deck's bad, right? So you've now got to try to find this balance where you're running cards that are still decent or playable by themselves, and then get extra value, when you manage to get Lady in White. Not to mention the fact that you have to hit Lady in White on 6, 4 to get maximum value, right?
Yeah, I definitely think Lady in White is not the build around card it first looks like it is. You can't go all in on this Lady in White synergy, as you mentioned. You're basically just putting a lot of trash cards in your deck, and that's going to result in you having a pretty bad deck and a pretty bad win rate. I think Lady in White, though, does have some kind of use when you're putting it in decks where the majority of minions have higher health than they have attack, and it can kind of just buff up some of those minions. I think Lady in White is a card that is a trap for a lot of newer players in that they want to go heavy into that synergy you're talking about, but realistically it might just be a decent card to buff up some of your middling threats in the late game. So I actually think Lady in White could be playable in some decks. It's definitely a kind of deck, a card you're like, can I fit Lady in the White in this deck? And then you're like yes or no, rather than can I build a deck that goes with Lady in White. So I actually think Lady in White could be a 3, although I definitely think any of the decks trying to go heavy into the Lady in White synergy are a flat 1.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I think, like you say, if you just casually putting in cards with, let's say, higher health, their life, then attack, and Lady in White kind of complements it. But just any advice to new players who are listening or watching this, I would really not suggest crafting it just to build a dedicated Lady in White deck.
Definitely.
Even though you have Inner Fire, Divine Spirit, still I don't suggest building an all-out dedicated deck.
Yeah, definitely. So what would your rating for Lady in White be?
I'm gonna give it a 2 because of that potential situational, that ability to maybe fit into a normal deck, like I say normal deck as in a non-build around deck.
Okay. Next up we have Camellias. Camellias is one of the most interesting cards in this expansion, I think. Camellias is a 1-mana 1/1 legendary beast. Each turn this is in your hand, transform it into a card your opponent is holding. This is a really exciting mechanic, not something we've seen any kind of ways that usually reveal cards from your opponent's hand. The mechanic itself is somewhat similar to cards like Shifting Xeris that we saw before, where it's a 1-mana 1/1 that changes every turn. But this case, it's actually changing into something in your opponent's hand, so you're getting information even if you never play the card that that Camellias is turning into.
Yeah, so that's gonna be. I mean, so immediately that's like the interesting design of it makes for. I think it introduces an interesting, what's the word, like this level of decision making. Is at what point do you play? Do you give up? That constant source of information, and then do you decide? Okay, I know enough about my opponent's hand. I'm now going to play the card that because it's given me a high enough value card now. So
Yeah.
like I think it's gonna be quite interesting. Like obviously in the first couple of turns it might just change into cards you can't play yet.
Yeah.
But I mean that information I really think there's been quite a lot of debates amongst a variety of like pro players about how good or bad this card is.
Yeah.
Some people I think are saying it's heavily overrated. Some people are saying this card's amazing. I definitely think this card is really powerful. And this will, when you have this much extra information, I think it will pay off as long as you can remember it all, obviously.
Yeah. It is definitely a little bit of a memory game, remembering which cards and then you kind of have to track as Camellias changes as well, and when maybe the cards were drawn as well. Those kind of things.
Yeah, because then working out if they like sometimes if someone played a second copy they drew versus the one they had.
Yeah. Yeah, those kind of things. So Camellias definitely quite interesting. I think one of the other hidden interactions that might not be immediately obvious to a lot of people is Camellias' interaction with Rin. With Rin, Camellias can turn into one of the seals. It can obviously turn into Rin as well. But you almost never want to play it as Rin in case your opponent has a way to deal with that. Instead, it can actually just turn into one of the seals in their hand, which means you'll always be able to be one seal ahead of them. Because you can actually just play the best seal that they have in their hand. So let's say they play the first seal and the second seal, and then they'll have the third in their hand, and Camellias can turn into that. And then you can just play the third seal and the fourth seal, skipping the first and second seals. So that's quite an interesting interaction. And the fact that it takes a while to play out all the seals means that there's a decent chance Camellias at some point there hits the seal. And of course, you can also just hit Azari at the end and just play Azari first. And playing Azari first is massive because you put your opponents in fatigue first. So I think that's an interesting interaction with Camellias that can definitely lead to some real like Trolden moments. And I think it's an aspect that pushes Camellias up for me in the rating. And something that definitely means in this kind of meta we're expecting with a lot of Warlocks, Camellias could be really good.
Yeah, I think I mean, the flip side is against aggressive decks, it's obviously not going to be as good.
Yeah.
It's a lot of times it's going to be a dead card. So I think what will be interesting is, so now like the debate will be around mulliganing it, right? Will be if you're playing against control, do you keep it, and then if you're playing against aggro, do you mulligan it, or do you always?
I don't think you ever mulligan it. Unless there's very specific matchups where you do want to mulligan, I don't think you ever mulligan. Because against aggro, you should be able to get cards you can play to contest the early board. Right. Okay. And against control, you want the information as early as possible to help formulate your game plan. I think Camellias is probably best played in control priest decks, but can kind of be played in quite a variety of priest decks, I think. And is a pretty powerful card. I in my heart, I would say it's like a 5 because I really like it, but ultimately, with our definition of 5 being meta-defining, I don't think we can really say Camellias is meta-defining. It's a card that is rather... It mimics the meta. It doesn't actually create any metas, particularly, in and of itself, or have that much of an influence on what other people are going to put in their decks. So for that reason, I think I can only give Camellias kind of a 4 at maximum, but for me it's like a high 4, because I do think it's a pretty powerful card.
Yeah, for me, I think I gave it a... What did I give?
I
gave it a 4 as well. I think this is... It's a card, I think, in nearly any priest deck you can put it in and not feel bad about it.
Yeah.
But it's a card, though, that the reason why, I don't think you can give it a 5 is it doesn't create or break genres, archetypes by itself.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's the important thing. Like, it's a good card, but it's not like you're building the Camellias deck, right?
Yeah, but it's also... other than just not creating a deck, it doesn't affect in any way how I build my decks in other classes.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do about it, to be honest, and that's the one side
Unless
that's not so great about
unless you play a
Camellias.
deck of all bad cards, so they
Sure,
only ever
yeah.
steal bad cards.
Yeah, and then then they will question themselves as to whether Camellias is operating properly when they only see bad cards.
Exactly.
And next up we have Glittermoth. Glittermoth is a 5-mana 4/4 epic beast with Battle Cry. If your deck has only odd cost cards, double the health of your other minions. So this is the kind of odd deck card for Priest. I must say it's very underwhelming to me. I don't see this as anywhere near a reason to play the odd deck. This is a card that is meant to help you further assert your position on the board. And in an odd deck where you can't curve out properly, I don't think you can really do that. You're not reliably going to have enough stuff on the board for Glittermoth to actually buff. So I really don't like Glittermoth.
Not to mention, I mean, basically, this effect is Divine Spirit on a stick, on a dude, and you're playing this, so you can't play Divine Spirit. Divine Spirit is usually more flexible.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it only targets one minion, but the problem is Glittermoth on 5. How often are you having multiple minions?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the dream
Multiple
scenario.
minions with big health, and if you do, they're probably damaged, and then you can't play cards like Circular Healing because it's even. Zero is even for those that don't know, and you can't play cards like Divine Hymn, one of the new cards, because also even. So even then, Glittermoth's not really doing that much.
I mean, I'm just trying to think. What's the best case scenario? You can buff 2 Northshire Clerics, or what 3 drops are there now? I mean, there's Tar Creeper still.
Yeah, Tar Creeper.
I mean, it's Tar Creeper and 2.
A Nightskill Matriarch, one of the new cards.
Yeah, so Glittermoth just doesn't do it for me.
No, Glittermoth is a solid 1 for me. I don't believe in the odd deck at all for Priest, even though an upgraded hero power from the beginning is quite powerful. I actually, even in that deck, I probably wouldn't put Glittermoth. So that's why I think Glittermoth is just a solid 1.
And if you want any combos, Divine Spirit is still better.
Yeah, which you can't play in the odd deck is the one kind of negative. You would need Glittermoth to make your inner fires work, but yeah, I don't think so. No. So a 1 from you as well?
Yeah, one for me as well.
Next up, we have Vivid Nightmare. This is quite an interesting card, I think. Vivid Nightmare is a 3-mana epic spell. Choose a friendly minion. Summon a copy of it with 1 health remaining. So this does mean that the minion can be healed up back to the original minion's full health, which is an interesting interaction with cards like Northshire Cleric, for instance, as kind of a card draw engine. And the ability to copy a minion on the board can lead to some interesting combos as well. We've seen it before with Quest Mage or Exodia Mage with the Molten Reflection, copying Sorcerer's Apprentices. And Priest does have a similar card in Radiant Elemental that you can copy to make a lot of cheap spells. So I think Vivid Nightmare could have some interesting applications in some of those decks. And actually, I think it could be quite useful in a lot of decks. It's kind of like a Prince Tel'Doram, but you don't have to cut out 3 cost cards from your deck in a way. Especially if you have those kind of healing effects. I think if there's like a healing priest, one that wants to play minions like Injured Blade Master and then heal them up, I think that deck could be a place for Vivid Nightmare as well. We're not really going to look at that deck, but we will look at some combo applications for Vivid Nightmare.
Just to clarify, though, for anyone watching, the fact that it's worded with 1 health remaining means that it counts as damage, so that means you can heal it immediately. Yeah. So there are the combos with Circle of Healing or the Divine Hymn that you mentioned.
Yeah. I did.
That's the difference. It's different to Barnes, which summons a 1/1 copy of it.
Yes. Yeah. And different to Mirage Caller and those kind of things. So yeah. So Vivid Nightmare, I think it's a card that can definitely create some archetypes. I don't know how good those archetypes will necessarily be, whether those kind of combo decks will just be meme decks or whether they will have a place in some of the slower control metas. So for me, I'm gonna have to give it Vivid Nightmare a 4 for that reason. I don't think it's necessarily that powerful a 4, but it is definitely a kind of a deck defining card.
Yeah. For me, I gave like because I'm not sure quite like I'm not exactly the greatest combo deck builder, so for me I'm gonna give it a 3 because I think the card is decent, but as of yet I don't like personally I don't know the how it's breaking the myths quite yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll get to a particular kind of combo version of Vivid Nightmare just now when we get to some actual deck examples. Next up, we have Coffin Crasher. Coffin Crasher is a 6 mana 6/5 rare minion with Death Rattle. Summon a Death Rattle minion from your hand. So, some have likened this to Possessed Lackey. The big difference here is you have to have generally more Death Rattle minions in your deck in order for Coffin Crasher to actually pull the card because it needs to come from your hand rather than from your deck. And this also means that you're getting a much... You can't have just let's say Obsidian Statue, which is one of the best minions to pull. You have to have kind of other minions, and that's kind of I think the issue I have with Coffin Crasher. It is obviously pretty good value on the board. You're getting a pretty good minion out of the Death Rattle, but you are both losing a resource in your hand, meaning you're not generating an extra resource.
It's getting you tempo in a way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what it's gaining you.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of a tempo play. Its body itself is 6 mana 6/5, not particularly great, but there's a lot of 6 mana 5/5s rolling around, so it's not that bad either.
Yeah, 6 mana 6/5 is not the worst it's not the worst 6-drop stats you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's still one of those cards that you probably might still play on turn 6 even with our Death Rattle hand.
Yeah.
It's not that bad,
Yeah, and it could definitely frighten your opponent whether they want to kill it or not. That's always going to be a concern as well. We've seen that in the past with cards like Void Caller, where you kind of threaten that Morganus in that case. In this case, you kind of threaten an Obsidian Statue even when you don't have it. So I actually think Coffin Crasher could be a staple in any decks that have solid Death Rattles. So I'm going to give it, a 4, kind of leaning on a 3 almost, because I'm not sure if there's enough good Death Rattles, but going forward, I think it could be pretty good.
I gave it a 4 because I just think it is solid. Like you say, any priest that will have Death Rattle on it, it's just great value. I mean, okay, I wouldn't say value, it's just good, great tempo.
Yeah.
The fact that the 6/5 I mean, I wouldn't say replace itself, but like something will pop out of it in a way, so you can think of it in a way a bit like... what's the not part
Pilot Sky Golem? Yeah.
Yes, the 6 mana shredder.
Yeah, 6 mana shredder.
A little bit like that, but obviously you lose the card from your hand.
Yeah, but you have a little bit more control over what it's going to pop out. Yeah, so it can pop out bigger value things rather than smaller value things. The problem is you have to put a lot of those big value things in your deck, and then they can be bad draws if you don't draw your Coffin Crasher.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Nightskill Matriarch. This is kind of the dragon for the set for Priest, which is pretty important, with Dustbreaker being quite a key card at the moment for Priest in the meta. Nightscale Matriarch is a 7 mana 4/9 dragon. It's a rare. Whenever a friendly minion is healed, summon a 3/3 whelp. So you get quite a potent effect for healing your minions. And it can definitely help you, build a board quite quickly. That the Dustbreaker will just come along and wipe out all your whelps. But if you're in a position where Nightscale Matriarch is getting you quite a hit on board, you're probably not going to need that Dustbreaker.
I don't know. Basically, this is similar to what's it, Geared, in a way, except Geared just has to hit itself, whereas this is just hitting any minion.
Yeah.
Immediately combos come to mind. The ability to summon a whole board of whelps with cards like Circle of Healing. Yeah. I mean, the first combo I had in mind, and you'll see in the deck that I built, consists of, Wild Pyromancer and Circle of Healing.
Yeah, Circle of Healing is definitely one of the most powerful effects with Nightscale Matriarch, because you can also do it on 7 mana if you have some damaged minions on the board, and then that really pushes your board advantage.
Yeah, and then... 7 mana for 4/9, it's sort of a weird sort of stats distribution. It's if you look at it sort of objectively, it's quite underwhelming stats because you generally want 15 points of stats at least. But basically, for those 2 stats points that are missing, you've got that effect. And so basically, what I think that boils down to is that if you just generate 1 whelp, that's basically value, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
if you're having to
depending
use your
how it's
hero power
generated,
for
right?
it, then
If you use your hero power, then it's 9 mana for 7, 12 stats,
yeah,
which I think is decent, which is fine then.
yeah, it's kind of okay. I mean, you're underpaying for the 3/3 if you think about it as a 2 mana 3/3.
Yeah.
And overpaying for the 4/9. But importantly, I think this is kind of a mid-rangey dragon, or mid-rangey to late game dragon that can sit in your hand and activate your dust breakers, and you'll use dust breakers to get back on the board, and then Nightskill matriarch to kind of assert your advantage. So I think they synergize quite well with each other there. Where the Nightskill matriarch is nowhere near the power level of like a Draconid operative before, but it does also synergize quite well with the Divine Spirit in a fire combo. So that's definitely something, a deck where Nightscale Matriarch can do some work as well. And it does as well with Lady in White. If it comes down as a 7 mana 9/9, that works quite well. So there is some synergy there. Yeah, I'm a fan of Nightscale Matriarch. I think it's just so hard right now when we've just come from Draconid Operative to look at any other dragons and be like, this is good, it's good enough to put in my deck. But with so many cards leaving standard, Nightscale Matriarch might well make the cut. Certainly until we get maybe some better dragons. So I'm going to give Nightscale Matriarch a 3, almost bordering on a 4.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give Matriarch actually a 4. I think it's going to be really powerful. Just a sort of a small side before we go on, is literally, I think you and I, we probably said the same thing the last time. Basically last rotation when Blackrock Mountain and all the other dragons rotated out, because then we had Blackwing Corruptor, Twilight Guardian, and like Wormrest Agent, and then we were like, oh, Power Dragon's gonna be good now. We had all this powerful synergy.
Yeah, but then they printed Dustbreaker like a couple sets in, so that's why I'm saying maybe not. That's why I'm saying Nightscale Matriarch might do for now until we get the next Dustbreaker or Draconid Operative in coming sets afterwards.
Watch the space.
Yeah. I definitely think it's a card that also leans a little bit more towards kind of control priest decks, although, the Lady in White kind of tempo-y mid-range decks can kind of maybe work. Yeah. Less excited about that, I see. Next up, we have Holy Water. Holy Water is a 5 mana rare spell. Deal 4 damage to a minion. If that kills it, add a copy of it to your hand. This seems like, you're getting good value, you get to copy a minion, but you're copying on average, you're copying a bad minion unless you have to trade into it first, in which case you're not really getting that much value from it. And these kind of copy your opponent's minions, which generally you're going to use this on your opponent's minions, to kind of get them in your hand effect has been pretty bad before. We saw it on Convert. And 5 mana for 4 damage is pretty bad, so overall I'm just not a fan of Holy Water.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously the meme potential where you kill something really big, but that requires quite a lot of setup. I mean, like you say, 4 damage, it's usually killing a very average, not an exceptional minion.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that asks you, how often is this going to be better than Holy Fire? That's a card that's in classic, 6 mana, deal 5 damage, and restore 5 health to your hero. How often is the minion getting, going to be that good? And I don't know. I don't think that often. So for me, I gave it a 2 because maybe there is a deck or there's a scenario where you need that extra damage. You need Holy Fire and you need Holy Water. You need the fire.
I mean, is that the point? You're supposed to put them on fire and then put them out.
I literally just realized it as I said it. Maybe you need the balance of fire and water.
So that's the thematic reason. I was wondering what the thematic reason for Holy Water was this whole time. I was like, are you supposed to convert them with the water? Yeah. Okay. Holy Water is rubbish in my opinion. It's a 1. Next up, we have Quartz Elemental. Quartz Elemental is a 5 mana 5/8 elemental. It's a common and it can't attack whilst it's damaged. So, it's a pretty threatening minion. When you put it down, it's gonna be a 5 mana 5/8. that is threatening to attack until your opponent kind of does something to stop that. Either they trade a minion in which case at least it's killing something, or they have to kind of ping it with the hero power or find some other way of damaging it. In which case you're going to hopefully be able to reactivate it by just kind of healing it up. It's kind of almost like a minion with an upkeep in a way. Something we've seen in like Magic the Gathering. The only thing is when it starts trading into bigger minions, it's harder to get it back to that fully healed state. So you might only get one, maybe two trades off before it either becomes kind of dead on board, or you need some kind of spell like Divine Hymn, which is coming up just now, or Circle of Healing in order to heal it up.
Yeah, I mean, raw stats wise, quite powerful. For me, I'm going to give it a 3 because I think it seems like a solid, like you say, it's not like previous ones, which, when this is the only minion in play, or you have to meet some condition. Like, straight up, you play it, it's threatening to attack.
Yeah.
On an empty board, obviously, this is just 5 damage for 5 mana coming your way each turn.
Yeah. I think it synergizes really well with the Divine Spirit Inner Fire combo stuff as well.
Yeah.
Because it has such a high starting health pool. And in those decks, you might also play something like, Circle of Healing if you have to help enable this. Maybe even Silence. And you can silence it and then go ahead, even if they've dealt 1 damage to it.
Yeah, so I think this is quite a solid minion. So for me, it gets a 3.
Yeah, I think Quartz Elemental is going to be pretty good. The only question is if the meta's too fast where you can't afford to heal your minions. That's going to be a bit of an issue. So that's kind of the only thing keeping it from being a 4 for me. I think it will be a little bit meta dependent as to where the Quartz Elemental is going to see a lot of play. So I'm going to be giving it a 3 as well. Next up, we have the card we've been talking about quite a lot, Divine Hymn. Divine Hymn is a 2-mana priest spell. It's a common. It restores 6 health to all friendly characters. So that includes your hero as well as all of your minions. So similar to kind of a Circle of Healing effect, except it heals you as well, and obviously it is healing for more. So great synergy with the Nightskill matriarch, and of course the Quartz Elemental that we just showed.
Yeah. So for me, the main issue with this card is you spending 2 mana. So it's a case of in what situations is this going to be good? I mean, Circle of Healing does a similar thing. The difference with Circle of Healing is that Circle of Healing is a symmetrical effect.
Yeah.
So in that sense, Circle of Healing can be more versatile, but also more restrictive at the same time.
Yeah.
Because if you heal your board, it heals your opponent's board. But also it has an additional synergy with cards like Orkana Soul Priest.
Yeah.
Whereas Divine Hymn has no synergy with Orkana Soul Priest unless you want to nuke your own board.
Yeah. or even something like Northshire Cleric. Sometimes healing your opponent's minions as well to gain the card draw from that can be pretty powerful. So Divine Hymn has kind of a less potential card draw with something like Northshire Cleric.
And heal you 2 more and heals your own hero for 6.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. For me, I think it's a 2. I think it's a bit too narrow, and maybe we might see.
Yeah, I definitely think it is definitely a fringe card. I think in the decks that want to focus on healing their own minions, cards playing Quartz Elemental and maybe an old classic like Injured Blade Master, I think you're going to prefer the 0 mana cost heal most of the time. But you might need more, so you might play Divine Hymn, maybe just 1 even. You already have cards like Shadow Visions to generate more Circle of Healings, so you might not even want to have more different spells so you can more consistently hit your Circle of Healings. So, for these reasons, I kind of have to agree with you. Divine Hymn is probably about a 2 for me. I think it's... The one other thing is the 2 mana cost that you mentioned is so much worse with cards like Injured Blade Master, where the downside is they come into play damaged. All of a sudden, when you're paying 5 mana for a 4/7, that's not good. So that is the one other thing to note. It does work better with cards like Nightskill Matriarch and, or not better, but just as well with cards like Nightskill Matriarch and the Quartz Elemental though. Divine Hymn is going to get a 2 from me. And next up we have Squashling. I think this is our final card for Priest. This is a 2 mana 2/1 common minion with Echo and Battle Cry restore 2 health. So most often compared to Voodoo Doctor, which was a 1 mana 2/1 that had the same effect without the Echo. You're paying 1 more, but you get to Echo. I think the Echo effect is pretty powerful in this case because you're getting a minion as well as the effect of restoring 2 health. I'm just not sure whether any deck really wants to take advantage of that right now.
I mean, like, if you watch the stream, the sort of the kind of the thing that jumps to mind is possibly with Organized Soul Priest, where you can shoot them in the face a few times. In reality, though, I don't think it's as good.
Yeah.
I mean, you're using an overcosted Voodoo Doctor, So I think it might, maybe there's some very weird combo deck, or some way that you need to trigger multiple instances of healing. So I'm going to give it a 2, but for me it's leaning towards a 1.
Yeah. I can't, disagree with that reasoning, really. I think Squashling, I believe a little bit more in its potential. Plus, its art is really cool, so I'm gonna give it a 3. I think that pumpkin's really sick. So I'm sorry, I can't be too mean to that pumpkin. It's gonna get a 3. Although I definitely think it's one of the worst 3s that I've rated 3. I'm sorry, Squashling. Moving on to some decks, none of which do include Squashling. We have Priest deck here, starting off with the Spiteful Summoner deck. So Spiteful Summoner, I think, is going to be one of the most powerful tools going forward for Priest. Because 10 drops on average are kind of getting better now. We've mentioned this in some of the other videos, but the 10 drops have just 2 12/12s now, Tyrantus and Deathwing, and they also have 2 8/8s, Emerus and Sea Giant. Sea Giant. And 1 7/14 in Ultrasaur. So on average, you're going to have, more Tyrantuses, which is good. So that's definitely going to help out.
Right? The proof Tyranted Eye.
Sure. Let's go with that. So I think that's one of the important things that's going to be powerful about Spiteful Summoner. Free from Amber doesn't necessarily get better, but you want to have more activators for your Spiteful Summoner, I think so. Maybe you even cut down to 1 Free from Amber, but in this list we've gone for 2. Some of the key cards that are rotating out are like your Cabal Talon Priests, and obviously the Draconid Operatives. So we've kind of come in here with the Cobalt Scalebanes for the Dragon Synergy, as well as the Nightskill Matriarch. Because it helps your curve. I mean, you go 6, 7, and your Nightskill Matriarch's decent chance of surviving because they're too busy dealing with your Tyrantus. Or your Deathwing. So your Nightskill Matriarch might have a decent chance to survive there. And obviously Mind Control's pretty decent against a Voidlord heavy meta. And we've also managed to get Camellias in here. It can give you spells from your opponent, which you can use pretty effectively to gain initiative. And that's pretty great. The one other card I kind of didn't manage to fit in, but I think could be quite good, is Scale Worm. Scale Worm's a neutral, 4 mana, 4/4, that gains Rush and +1 attack if you have a dragon in your hand. So that's another decent way for the deck to kind of deal with single target minions. It already has Dustbreaker to deal with wider boards. So it gives you kind of a better initiative plan for... a deck that has to cut its spells, which are generally some of the best ways to gain initiative. So I think Spiteful Priest could be pretty strong going forward.
I feel like it doesn't lose that much, so that's always, I think, that favors decks. It's like if a deck doesn't lose much, there's a good chance it will still be quite strong.
Yeah. This could be not that close to, a final good version, but the idea is definitely there, and I definitely think Nightskill Matriarch is a good card to test out in the deck. And then we have... I think this is your deck that you gave... that you submitted for this. We have what is basically a Control Dragon Priest, I believe?
Dragon Control Priest?
Okay.
Yeah, so this kind of still has mainly a dragon shell, but it's got also a little bit more removal in the form of it's obviously got your dust breakers, it's got your Organized Soul Priest plus Circle of Healing combo, as well as I've got a Primordial Drake, Psychic Scream, I think I mentioned, a Shadow Reaper Anduin, and then traditionally, the shenanigans with Wild Pyromancer.
Yeah.
So, like as I was alluding to earlier, there's also the quite there's the usual Northshire Cleric and Wild Pyromancer shenanigans, but now you've got the additional shenanigans with what's it called?
The Nightskill matriarch.
Nightskill matriarch. Not to mention that if you have both, like if you have like Nightskill matriarch, Wild Pyro, and Northshire, like there are some pretty insane combinations where you fill your board and draw a bunch of cards, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, because you play like Power Shield, and then you Circle of Healing, and I'm really just getting excited for all the cards I'm drawing.
Yeah, I think the one thing with these kind of control decks, you do have to be a little bit wary of drawing cards in some of the slower control mirrors.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's why we've seen some of the control decks also have cards like Mind Control in. But, you've got some other decent tempo tools. You've got the Scale Worm that we were talking about in terms of the Spiteful Priest. So, I mean, there is obviously a lot of classic synergies in here with the Organized Soul Priest Circle and
then you got the Shadow Visions with Elise, to fight. So, I mean, this deck is mainly based around getting a lot of value out of your cards. Nightskill matriarch. Maybe I should have actually gone up to 2, but I was like, let me not be too greedy.
Yeah.
Elise, like I say, those are the 2 main cards which generate your value. And then at the end of the day, you can always just outground someone with Shadow Reaper Anduin, if.
Yeah, or their own cards if you get them from Camellias.
Yeah, Camellias, Glimmerroot.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's definitely an interesting direction for Priest to go. Some of the key things that lost was like the pint-sized potions for the Shadow Word Horrors and some of those kind of key board clears. So it's a little bit more reliant on Dustbreaker and Psychic Scream. Depending on the meta, you might want to go more heavy board clear, whereas you've gone kind of more heavy value. But it's definitely a shell that I think is going to be pretty good for Priest going forward. And finally, we have something that's, I'd say, almost a little bit more of a meme deck. It is the Vivid Nightmare combo deck. So the combo here is to have, 2 Radiant Elementals on the board. How you get them is, there's multitude of ways to get them. We have kind of the big Priest shell a little bit with the Shadow Essence and Eternal Servitude, ways to resurrect and pull them back, and then the lesser Spellstone. Those are kind of often ways to cheat out Malagos and Prophet Valen as well. Let's say you play your 2 Radiant Elementals you have from hand. You can play the Spellstone for 5 mana. You can then play, your Mind Blasts, your Holy Smites if you resurrect your Valen and your Malagos, or Valen or Malagos, or if you resurrect both, you need less spells in your hand. So there is kind of a lot of ways to get damage. And we've also got cards like Spirit Lash that work quite well, even if you just resurrect your Valen in order to Spirit Lash to kind of recover on the board and those kind of scenarios. So you really want to cheat out your Valens and your Malagos with the Shadow Essence, and then, rely on the resurrection of them alongside playing your Radiant Elementals. So the big problem with this deck is you kind of have to cut out most of the minions, and I'm a little bit worried about the general card draw, and also losing cards like Dragonfire Potion can be a bit iffy. So
I would love to see this deck work though. Like it looks like
yeah, it definitely looks like fun in my opinion. And it's definitely something that has the combo potential if your opponent gives you kind of enough time to get there.
So you tell me if my opponent falls asleep or disconnects.
Sure. Or if they're just playing a super slow control priest deck. Yeah, so I mean, probably a little bit more of a meme rather than the more powerful 2 decks we've shown, but it's definitely interesting to show, some of the kind of combos you can get with Vivid Nightmare, which I believe is the only new card in this deck, actually. Pretty much just built around Vivid Nightmare in this case. So yeah, that's the 3 decks we have for Priest. I think Priest is in a pretty decent place going forward. I think it's going to be one of the most powerful classes. It has some good answers to some of the meta, the popular meta decks going forward, and Dustbreaker has gotten some support in the form of the matriarch. So it's still going to be possible to kind of have those very valuable those very valuable Dustbreaker clears, which was one of the biggest things Priest had going for it against a lot of the aggro decks. And I think Spiteful Priest might be one of the leading Priest decks, just alongside Control Priest. I think very meta dependent as to which one you might want, and I think Priest could be a very strong class going forward. So that's all we have for Priest. If you want to follow us, you can find us on Twitter at PandemoniaZA, at Dib_gaming. Please also like and subscribe, and feel free to share the videos and comments as well. Any feedback and sharing of the videos is greatly appreciated. And stay tuned to the channel. There will be lots more of the videos coming out for all the rest of the classes as well as the neutrals. So until then, cheerio.
Cheers.